I'd like to highlight an issue that I came across last week from a mother who discussed her plight of her daughter. Her daughter is a medical doctor, qualified medical doctor. Unfortunately, did not get accepted to study at one of the facilities, universities, uh, medical schools here in South Africa, and then studied abroad, passed, and is now back in South Africa. But really, really, I think the entire family is frustrated because she has had difficulties in terms of registering to be certified to practice medicine in South Africa. She had returned because she feels passionate about this country and serving this country, especially in light of the COVID-19 virus here. So we've seen reports whereby many, as well as in the command council, as well as professional virologists, medical experts saying even if they increase capacity of healthcare facilities, there is a shortage of frontline healthcare workers, specifically medical doctors. And then I discover there's a group of over 400 doctors who have qualified abroad and also some in South Africa that are waiting to be certified. And there's a struggle with the registration process. Some of them probably had to rewrite, and there's delays. And I'm thinking, well, 400 doctors could ease the burden, ease the strain of our already exhausted healthcare workers, medical doctors. I'm just thinking of a casualty where some patients are made to wait in already sick, fatigue state for up to 4 hours in casualty. Surely these doctors can, under the supervision of senior colleagues, even do vitals, even just check and then report back. Okay, I can't they? I mean, we're living in unprecedented times. It calls for unprecedented solutions. So we need to be thinking out of the box. We need to pivot and find ways where we can utilize these professionals who have studied medicine. So, or maybe it's just me being over eager, but let's find out. We're going to be joined by, first, let me play a voice clip of a frustrated medical doctor before we are joined by the deputy chairperson of the South African Internationally Trained Health Professional Association. I'm just checking. Sister Nazreen, are we playing the clip first? Sister Nazreen?
Sometimes I don't feel much like one. Why, you may ask? Since graduating, myself and my peers have been at home, some of us having found other jobs, some helping out in the community. While we could actually be serving a higher purpose, in a time where hospitals are understaffed, doctors are overworked, and people are dying at exponential rates. If COVID 19 has taught the world anything, it's the value of its healthcare workers. Yet, I don't feel valued. Myself and hundreds of others are either waiting for a board exam, waiting for a rewrite, or just waiting to be placed. And not just for a couple of months, but for years. Denied the opportunity to study in our own country, we still chose to pursue our dreams, and we still chose to come back to South Africa to help our people. But the HPCSA will put every obstacle in our way to delay and prevent us from doing so. All we ask is for the opportunity to serve our nation. My name is Amira. I'm a doctor, but sometimes I don't feel like.
Yes, that was the words of Dr. Amira, who really, you can see the despondency and the frustration is tangible in her voice. All she wants to do is serve her community, serve her country, practice her passion of medicine, and yet, as she said, so let's find out why she is feeling like the Health Professional Council of South Africa will place every obstacle in their way. To help us understand the issue and put light on this issue, I'm joined by Dr. Jeremy Nayaga, and he is the Deputy President of the South African Internationally Trained Health Professional Association, which is a non-profit organization launched in March 2018 to assist medical graduates, undergraduates, and practitioners with legal representation in regard to decisions taken by the Health Professional Council affecting their registration, right to practice as health professionals in their country of birth. Good morning, Dr. Nayaga, and welcome to the show. Let me see who else is joining me as well. I just want to get Nazreen's message. Nazreen can just type on the screen. But let's start with you, Doctor. Is this frustration shared by many of your members?
Good morning, and firstly, thank you so much for having us share this platform so that we can share our story. Um, it's extremely frustrating, and I think the voice notes spoke volumes of the way we feel as graduates, people holding titles as doctors, but being denied registration, especially in times like this where we have a shortage of medical personnel, where the country is in dire need of health professionals. Yet we're being sidetracked, we've been sidelined as if we're not needed.
So, what is the reason that the voice not said the Health Professional Council, where they allege they will put every obstacle in the way from being registered? So, can you give us a few of the reasons why this medical doctor has said this, that they find that there are obstacles in the course? What is the issue?
So there's so many, to pick out a few. The processes in terms of registration should be quite simple and should be quite straightforward. The HPCSA should hand us a document of criteria that we should need to meet in order to register to be health professionals within this country. And when we do hand over documents, we're told that, for example, a letter of good standing um, is not accepted. Some curriculums are not being accepted in terms of universities abroad. We've got people whose applications have been lost. We've got people who uh, it's a timely process. We've got graduates who are waiting from 2017 to register. The documents are sitting with the HPCSA, but have not gotten or received invitations to the board exam uh, due to reasons that only the HPCSA can answer.
Okay, let me just check if we've got former President Hosi Klaba joining us. Mr. Klaba, are you there? Mr. Klaba, so I've got Kamal here. Good morning, Kamal.
Good morning, ma'am.
Kamal, you are representing?
A concerned parent. I'm representing a child that qualified, I think, 2 years ago at a foreign university.
So tell us your child's experience or the family's experience.
It's basically the same thing. The unfortunate reality is he studied at in Mauritius under ENA, which is licensed under the MUT, and MUT has a core accreditation. In addition to that, Mauritius forms part of the BRICS body. The challenge that we have is to get him. He's managed to write his first exam, the theory one. The challenge that we are having now is the practical. They are asking him to follow the new pathway, which requires 1 year additional to be done at a local university. Just as a safety net, we have approached various medical universities in South Africa, and not one of them are aware of such a process that is put in place. There's no procedures for registration. There's no for such students. There's no avenue created for them, and There's no policy, in fact. HPCSA is just going around making utterances and giving so-called guidelines from to students that are qualified in that have foreign qualifications. But there's basically no policy. There is a coherent process between HPCSA and the medical universities. So it's just a mess to be. I'm sorry to use the term, but that is the way it is. And as a result, I can identify with the other youngsters that have abroad. There is huge frustration. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of animosity that they're dealing with. Psychologically, these children are being challenged, and at the expense of an incompetent body.
So, let me get back to Dr. Nayaga. What is the normal process? So, if you, I mean, there's no law against studying abroad anyway. I mean, be it medicine, be it law, whatever it is. So, when you come back, is there a problem with the institutions that these doctors have chose to study with? Are they not accredited? What is the issue? I'm just trying to think of the reasons why the Health Professional Council of South Africa are stalling or dragging their feet, seemingly dragging their feet.
Okay, let me just help you understand the situation, Miriam. Um, in actual fact, the process should be simple. You come back from your country of study, you return home, you apply with your documents of graduation to the HPCSA. You apply to register to sit the board exam um, to the medical council. Upon completing and passing the board exam, you should then be allowed to sit the OSCE, which is the practical exam. Upon completing the practical exam and passing that, you should then fall into internship, a paid internship at a government facility. That should be the process. What we are finding is that we are now we've got people who can attest to calling the HPCSA before going abroad to study and asking them, what are the requirements? What do you need from these universities? We're being told that the university needs to be number one, WHO approved. It needs to be listed on the World Health of Medical Directories. It needs to be ECFMG approved. And then we get graduates coming down with their application documents who meet all of these requirements. And then we're being told that your university's curriculum has not been reviewed by the HPCSA. So therefore, you are now a non-compliant applicant and fall under a different category. And as of 2019, between 2019 and 2020, there was the implementation by the HPCSA of the new pathway, which entails that a graduate should come down, apply to write the board exam. Upon passing the board exam, then go back to a local university, a medical university, at their own cost, at their own application, then apply to get into university for 12 months for clinical exposure before returning and applying to write the practical exam. Upon passing the practical exam, we must then get into the internship program. And we're saying this is unacceptable. This is not fair. This is not a clear cut process. And there are hurdles along the way that the HPCSA has to account for.
So, was this a process all along, or has this process changed in the interim? So, let me first just check: are you accredited currently? Have you fulfilled all the requirements required by the Health Professional Council, and are you a certified medical practitioner?
Okay, I'm a perfect example of the story because I had gone abroad. Again, my university was WHO approved, ECFMG approved, and listed on the World Health of Medical Directories. Came back, graduated in 2019, sent my application through to the HPCSA. I was then told that it's a non compliant application because my curriculum at the university has not been reviewed. Myself, together with colleagues, had worked tirelessly to ensure that all the documentation was given to the HPCSA. The HPCSA then approved our curriculum, which was a step in the right direction. And then we made application to write the board exam. Thereafter, the implementation came through of this new pathway. And then myself, together with Advocate Govender and the association, brought forward a class action against the new pathway because it goes against our human rights. Via that court action, we've got a lot of communication, which we never had previously with the HPCSA. And I was then invited to write the board exam this past May on the 25th. I then successfully passed the board exam. And shortly after passing the board exam, thinking that I would now prepare for my OSCE, my practical, I was then told, congratulations on the successful pass of your exam. You must now make your way to a university to register for 12 months, and you will follow the pathway. So that's where I currently stand.
So that's why you feel hurdle over hurdle. So I've got former president of the South African Health Professional Council, and it's Hosi Leplapa. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Morning Talk on Salam Media.
And good morning to the listeners.
Thank you for joining us. So you heard I'm speaking to the deputy chairperson of the organization, the South African Internationally Trained Health Profession Association. And yes, so Dr. Nayaga, Jeremy Nayaga, has explained us his plight, as well as this is the plight of, I'm told, over 400 doctors. So tell me, what seems to be the struggle and why this change of pathway? And now it looks like an additional 3 years now they have to take to qualify over and above their training, and they're just finding it very, very difficult in the huge financial costs that they have to bear.
Just to start by saying that I thought I was invited to come and talk about COVID-19 and related matters. I wasn't informed that you'd be talking about this subject. Yes, as you rightfully said, I'm the past president of the HPCSA. I now can't speak for the current incumbent, otherwise I'll be ruling from the grave.
My apologies. We wanted to discuss the specific issue because last week I heard about this plight of these doctors who as you're aware, we face a shortage of medical doctors in the front line, and these are trained medical professionals who we could be utilizing in the front line, but yet some have now taken alternate vocations, alternate careers. Some are just sitting frustrated and despondent. So during your tenure at the Health Professional Council, was this pathway already introduced, or this is something after your tenure that had been introduced? And are you aware of the plight of these doctors?
I'm fully aware of the issues, and having been in the board for 10 years up until end of October last year, we dealt with these issues intensively. And I was both the chair of the Medical and Dental Board and the president of council. So I'm familiar with the matters and the challenges that we face.
So can you please expand upon the challenges and also why this Health Professional Council have taken this pathway as Dr. Nayaga is speaking in terms of this, especially in a time when we require as many medical professional, dedicated professionals who want to serve the country?
Yeah, I think with all due respect, it would be not proper governance for me to speak when they are new incumbent. It's like asking President Mbeki to give you a ruling on COVID when there's President Ramaphosa sitting in the union buildings. And if it had been properly arranged, I would have sought permission from the current incumbent if they wanted me to speak on these issues. So it would be wrong for me to make any comments. I'd be more than happy to explain and enlighten you, but it would be improper given the fact
I'm not an officer of the HPCSA anymore. And I
Uh,
should
my,
only say if permission was granted by the current incumbent.
Sir, I hear you, Doctor. I hear you. So, I'm not asking you to comment what's happened currently, but as you've mentioned that you're aware of the issue during your tenure as well, this has been an issue. So, let's discuss. So, that's what I'm saying. I'm taking you back during your time. What were some of the difficulties in that? So, we asking you for your time. So, I'm not asking you specifically now to discuss what's happening, but this is an issue, as you've said, during your tender as well. This has been happening and occurring. So during your time, can you shed light about the experiences that were experienced by these doctors during your time?
You must just understand that the regulators' rules are simple. We have rules of prescribed qualification, which would mean that it's a qualification obtained in an accredited university in the country in which we have jurisdiction, which is the Republic of South Africa. Any other qualification that is not prescribed would be a qualification obtained elsewhere, and that is what is called a foreign qualification. Now, the dispensation that the HPCSA has is for foreign qualified doctors, which basically means it's a person that has studied elsewhere, that is credentialed elsewhere, that is entitled to practice medicine elsewhere, who is now applying to practice medicine in South Africa, irrespective of the person's citizenship. So the primary rules are agnostic to citizenry. It's about where did you qualify? Did you qualify in an accredited institution in South Africa, which is a prescribed qualification, or did you qualify elsewhere? Now, what has happened is that in the last maybe 10, 15 years, you then had a lot of South Africans going to study elsewhere. And the problem that most of them have is that when they come back, they do not come back as qualified doctors. They've not met the requirement where they have studied to be on the register as a practitioner. Now, if you've studied elsewhere and you are registered to work in that environment as a practitioner, you bring those credentials, you write a board exam, and you get registered as a practitioner, if you are successful, in public service. Now, because you have South Africans that study elsewhere, that are not able to provide certification of being certified as a practicing doctor, which would mean you've the requirements of that country, you've done internship if it is a requirement there, and you are on the register of practitioners. What has then happened over the years was to try and accommodate South African citizens that go and study elsewhere and are not able to come back as fully qualified doctors, registered where they studied to practice medicine. And that's why the pathways were developed to try and accommodate them.
So I've got Dr. P. Singh, chairperson of the South African Internationally Trained Health Professional Association here. And good morning, Dr. Singh. And would you like to respond to Dr. Nklapa's comments?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. Yes, I would. So, Doctor, you have mentioned that the doctors have been required to be registered in their practicing country. I would like to make you aware that the degrees that we have obtained of an internationally recognized standard. And what we are requesting from the HPCSA is to allow us to register in the country in which we were born. We are South African citizens, We have trained internationally to wish to be registered with the HPCSA.
Dr. Dr. Kursi, will you be able to respond? I know you're the former head, as you've pointed out, but will you be able to respond to Dr. Singh that they are indeed South African citizens who went to study abroad and they would like to then be registered in their country of birth? I don't think we have Dr. Kursi on.
South Africans outside,
Okay.
outside
Mhm.
and non-South Africans. We just have a uniform standard. That's the point I'm trying to make. That you can't say, because I'm South African, I don't have to meet the standard that you have because I'm South African. I've studied elsewhere. Register me.
Miriam, can I please respond
Yes,
to
yes,
Dr.
yes, yes.
Letlape?
Please, yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Nyaga. You can respond.
Thank you, Dr. Letlape, for bringing up those topics. Firstly, it's been over 2 years that we have been asking for a list of prescribed universities from the HPCSA. To date, we have not received a list. So my question is, where do these prescribed universities come from? Which are prescribed universities and which aren't prescribed universities? Because we've been asking for that. Secondly,
you're not listening to me. I never spoke about a prescribed university. I'm talking about a prescribed qualification, which is a qualification that is obtained in the Republic in an institution accredited by the HPCSA. That would
yes,
include
Dr.
the
Letlape,
medical
I
schools,
do
all the
understand what
medical
you
schools
said.
that we have.
Dr. Nyaga, let's just. Mr. Nyaga, so
Okay. So
clearly
that's what
we.
we talk about when we talk about a prescribed qualification. All others that are not obtained in South Africa are foreign qualifications. And what you need to provide proof of is that I've studied elsewhere, I'm registered, I'm fully entitled to practice as a doctor where I have studied.
Okay, Dr. Letlape, when
Those
we do
are the
register
requirements.
for the
Now,
board
people are coming and say, I have a medical education from elsewhere. Please register me as a doctor.
because we're
Anyone
registering
that
for
comes and says,
internship,
here are my
Dr.
papers,
Letlape. We're not
I'm
registering for
registered to
medical
practice
officer
where
positions.
I have.
Dr. Nyaga, let's just give Dr. Laklaba a chance to respond, and then I will give you a chance to respond as well.
Okay.
Dr. Laklaba, please go ahead.
Yes. I think people need to understand the difference between having studied for medicine and being a registered, qualified doctor, credentialed by an equivalent authority to the HPCSA from the country of study. And that's the requirement to be registered in South Africa.
Okay. So, Dr.
Now,
Laklaba, okay. Go ahead.
Like I have said, we have many South African citizens that go and study elsewhere, but don't come credentialed to practice medicine and registered by the relevant authority in the country of study to practice and credentialed to practice with proof of registration from that country. So once you have all those things that you submit, you can then sit for a board exam, you pass, you get registered as a medical practitioner in the country. Now, because a lot of our children that go outside do not meet those requirements, that's why the cancer has been backwards and been in engagement to try and create a pathway for them to be able to complete in South Africa and meet those requirements or some of those requirements. But remember this, the council does not control admission into medical schools, not even for the South Africans that are fortunate to find spaces in our medical schools. That is a matter entirely controlled by the universities.
Yes, but we acknowledge there are shortage of medical doctors, especially now in South Africa, and these doctors want to study, but there's only a limited capacity in South Africa. Which surely, I don't know, along with South African Health Professional Council as well as maybe Department of Health, and that shouldn't there be a list now of accredited universities whereby the Health Professional Council as well as Department of Education are able to understand the unit
we-
standards, the frameworks, and then offer these to say, if you
just-
want to study, doctor, can I
no.
just complete my question to say, if you'd like to study medicine abroad, these are the accredited universities, the universities we have a working relationship, we understand the unit standards, etc. So if you want to study abroad, please, you need to consider these universities. Are there such institutions where there is a working relationship and accredited or sanctioned by the Health Professional Council of South Africa?
We are a regulatory body, and the relationships that we have internationally are with other regulators. We are not an educational institution. We have no authority to accredit any universities that are outside our jurisdiction. We have matrix that we apply and committees that will look at curricula and equivalent. And that's why he spoke about the fact that their curriculum being accredited. We have things that we do. We come with an institution that you study. There are processes that we do to do an evaluation. But we have no authority to accredit. We advise people to say, if you go to a medical school, check whether it's on the world registry, check whether it's recognized by the WHO. But we have no authority on those matters. We are just giving advice to see whether that school is fine. Remember, let me give you an analogy of what happened in South Africa. When we have people that qualify here and they go elsewhere, the equivalent authority, the regulator in another country, will come to us to ask for verification. We'll verify that, yes, you qualified from Walter Sisulu, the recognized university, we recognize it, we recognize that qualification, you are registered to practice here, if you are registered with the country, etc., and we provide that information. So the relationship that we have as a regulator is with other regulators. We are not a teaching institution, we are a regulator. So we'll have relationships with the General Medical Council, the Royal College of Physicians, the Zimbabwean Health Authority, the Kenyan Medical and Dental Council. Those are the relationships that we have. And that is why what we require would be to say, you've studied there, it's recognized by that authority. Are you registered with that authority? Give us proof that they credentialed you to practice medicine in that country. That's the level at which the HPCSA operates with similar organizations. We don't act outside our peers, even out of the country, even at an international forum.
So now, Doctor, we know the reality is we have a shortage of medical doctors. The reality is we have over 400 students that have been trained as doctors, right? The issue is, how do we, in the short term, sort this problem out in terms of speeding up the accredited process for these doctors, as well as then have a better system in place for students who have a passion, who want to study medicine. There is not enough capacity in the University of South Africa that want to go abroad. I mean, I understand your accredited body, but at the moment now with COVID-19 ease, with this strain here, we all need to be working together. All the role players work together so that we can have these dedicated doctors here who are at the front line to protect and safeguard our South African community. So how do we all get on a table, Department of Health, Department of Higher Education, whoever the role players be, South Health Professional Council of South Africa, as well as these doctors, the organization here, the Internationally Trained Health Professionals Association, get down, have a virtual sit down, and let's see how we can accelerate this process so that we can have these passionate, trained medical professionals registered as doctors so that they can serve the community of South Africa. Can something be done now? You know, the whole world is pivoting. We also need to pivot and maybe accelerate procedures. Let me just
I've got
respond, and
another
then I'd like to
engagement.
give.
Can you give me an opportunity to answer you
Yes,
because I've got
yes,
another
you can.
engagement
And
that I've got to
please
go
do,
to.
and then I'll take
The duty,
Dr. Singh and Dr. Nyaga.
the duty of the Health Professions Council is to ensure that we credential people that are competent to practice. That's our sole duty. The issue of insufficiency and inadequacy and inability to absorb and no funding of posts, that is not the responsibility of the regulator. That is a responsibility of the state, of the health systems, of the Minister of Health, the different MECs and the state. Our duty is to vet you that you are fit and proper and it is safe for you to practice on South Africans. The issue of shortages is not the responsibility of the Health Professions Council. And I'm sorry to talk about, you see, you're getting me into trouble because I'm now speaking like I'm still in the HPCSA. I'm a past president and I don't want to go outside my
No,
mandate.
we heard you loud and clear. You made your position clear in it. But I think, Dr. Klaba, at this time here, what we're facing in South Africa, it's everybody's responsibility to ensure that we have sufficient
Ma'am, just
frontline
understand
medical doctors there.
we are not,
Um,
you cannot expect the council because there's a crisis to put people that they have not vetted that are not safe to practice. Let me give you an analogy of COVID-19. SAPRA's duty is about the safety of the vaccine. The issue of availability and access, that's a state duty. So people can't say because there's a scarcity of vaccines, SAPRA must not do its job of ensuring that those are safe. But once they've done their job, that they are safe, it does not mean they are going to be in the arms of South Africans. Sadly, ma'am, can you arrange this properly with the HPCSA? Because I'm no longer the president. I'm speaking just as an ordinary doctor, and I'm giving you information on what I know. But on this important subject, it would be important for you to get the current incumbent. If I'm invited to provide information and clarity, I'll be glad to do so, and I would be supporting my people, my successors in the organization. Thank you very much.
And we thank you for your time and your input, as well as you were the former president, but yet you had your input. We're gonna take a short break, and then I'd like to get comment from both Dr. P. Singh as well as Dr. Jeremy Nayaga, who've been waiting. I'm sure they have processed and digested what was being said and the way forward, because surely, in my understanding, all the role players need to be involved to accelerate this process to get these medical students, call them now, or they doctors, they've graduated to be registered to practice medicine in South Africa. Please do stay on the line. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Penny Appeal is on the ground providing essential supplies to displaced families in Gaza. Our Love Palestine campaign has in the past provided food, water, and medical support. Donate today so we can continue to aid those in need. Gaza needs us. Donate today with your zakat, sadaqah, or millah. Visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 100 573. Penny Appeal Love Palestine.
This is what I asked him to speak about, and that's what he told me.
Penny
He's
Appeal.
embarrassing me on
Small
air.
change, big
This is
difference.
supposed to have been a groundbreaking interview, because not even News 24,
for your
not even
money.
7,
Is it our
nobody
range of
knows.
exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewellers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewellers to make it special. www.randeryjewellers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewellers, the family name you can trust.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice. For over 80 years, Osman's Taj Mahal have been perfecting the art of the perfect blend of spices, pure, aromatic, and well-seasoned. Spices to tantalize your taste buds. From creative cuisines to gastronomical gourmet goodies, from exotic odors to traditional dishes, Osman's Taj Mahal have remained synonymous with quality spices and condiments. Taj Mahal rice, beans, and lentils. Try our range of chili bite mixes, rose and ilachi syrup, our quick and easy biryani pack, and our traditional range of spice blends. Osman's Taj Mahal. There is no substitute for quality.
It is with love that Prophet Ibrahim submitted completely to Allah. It is with love that charity is a pillar of faith. It is with love that Islamic Relief will give your qurbani to those in need. Elevate the rewards of your sacred sacrifice by sharing your qurbani with vulnerable families around the world. It is neither their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah, but your piety. This is a sacrifice of many rewards. Enhance your blessings and share your qurbani with Islamic Relief.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. You tuned into Mid Morning Talk, and it's afternoon. And yes, we have a discussion here, a hot debate. Really, a plight of over 400 doctors, and they are currently in a vacuum. I'd like Dr. Singh, are you still with us? Dr. Singh, are you still with us? Okay, so you heard emphatically what former President Dr. Nkosi Leplaba had to say regarding they just a statutory body, and it seems they absolved himself of any responsibility. Even I asked him, can we probably streamline and accelerate this process to get these trained medical doctors? He's not even acknowledging them as doctors, he's acknowledging them as medical students to practice medicine here. So what is your response to what he's saying? Why is everybody talking through each other, and why is there not a concerted effort being made to actually streamline this process to get these much needed medical doctors registered so they can start serving South Africa at a time when we need them? We really, really require extra support.
I absolutely agree with you. 110%. This is exactly what our country needs. And to respond to the doctor's comments, firstly, I'd like to start by reviewing the misconceptions that he's mentioned earlier. The idea of having a standardized exam or some kind of standard to monitor the influx of internationally trained doctors into the country is something that we are in agreement with. We are not denying in any form or way a board examination. In fact, we are eager, we are excited to write this examination because it opens the door towards the registration. Then he mentioned that we need to be registered in the country in which we studied, or there are requirements in which there's a registration process. Those countries, China, Mauritius, Ukraine, Russia, Romania, wherever the doctors have chosen to study, and I'll come to that just now. Those countries give preference to the doctors who are born in that country. And we are simply asking that South Africa does the same for us. That South Africa gives South African-born doctors the opportunity to be registered.
Dr. Singh, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you can go ahead. Dr. Singh?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, you were saying, so you want South African doctors, so you're saying one of the demands are South African doctors should be given an opportunity to register in South Africa.
Absolutely. We're requesting a fair chance to write the examinations and be registered in the country of our birth. That is all we are asking, and a fair opportunity to do so. There shouldn't be any red tape, and I implore the H2CSA to remove any red tape and allow for common sense to dictate the way. The evidence has been shown last night in the president's speech. We've now moved on to adjusted level 4 on a national lockdown, and it has never been clearer that the need for healthcare has never been greater in our country at the moment. And having our doctors, or these doctors who have been trained internationally, to come in and support in our communities and local hospitals is absolutely at 110% going to only benefit this country going forward.
And let me bring, thank you for that. And have you, let me pose this question to Dr. Jeremy Nyaga. So, Doctor, have you been in any contact with the Department of Health and Department of Higher Education in terms of them intervening as well? Because we know that currently at the medical schools, at the various universities, don't have the capacity to accept more students who wish to study medicine. So yes, at your own cost, at a tremendous cost to yourselves, your families, you study overboard to come back and bring your much needed essential skills back to South Africa. So surely there should be a process to facilitate doctors who then study at accredited institutions overseas. Has your organization been in contact with Department of Higher Learning as well as the Department of Health?
Thank you, Mariam. Quickly, before I get to that, I just want to touch on some of the things that Dr. Letlape said. I'll try and be quick. I'm actually so glad that you had Dr. Letlape on the show, because this highlights the issues that we are going through currently. Number one, in terms of registration, it was good that Dr. Letlape was here, because he was in office when the new pathway was brought into play. That's number one. Number two, Dr. Letlape had said that we come back to the country not as doctors. We come back with qualifications, MBBS qualifications, number one. Number two, every single person does not walk out of medical university as a medical officer. You write the board exam to register for internship. You do 2 years of internship, 1 year of community service, and then you go into medical officer office. Not even medical students that study in South Africa walk out of universities as full-blown doctors. They also required to do 2 years of internship and a year of community service. That is our struggle. He says that they are regulatory councils, but they're not willing to communicate with other regulatory councils to get universities on a prescribed list. That's the issue that we're having. In terms of your question, Mariam, have we got to the Minister of Health and higher educational bodies to bring light to this topic? Yes, we have. We've tried to go the route, the political route. In fact, political parties such as the IFP and the ACDP have brought these questions up in Parliament on our behalf. And sadly, no change at all. We can't see the change. We can't see the change in the processes. So this is the reason for us making a big noise about this, because we're trying to raise awareness. Factually speaking, the current situation of South Africa, we have 0.9 doctors per 1,000 population. And I'd like everybody listening to just think about that. We've got 0.9 doctors per 1,000 population, and we've got 400 unemployed doctors waiting for registration. Does that make sense to the citizens of South Africa? Does that make sense to the people who need healthcare, to people who need to use government facilities?
So where to from now? What are you proposing to do? How are you going to accelerate this process in terms of your campaign? How are you going to highlight this? Probably maybe approach the office of the president in terms of probably he can intervene, because as you said, he spoke in the various speeches and so-called various family meetings with regard to the healthcare workers, the doctors being overwhelmed, and yes, doctors themselves. How are you then going to now accelerate this issue and highlight this and create awareness? This was a platform, a start, but where to from here, Dr. Singh?
Thanks.
Dr. Singh, we seem to, can you move around a bit? Your line is not so clear. We seem to be losing you. Dr. Singh, okay, let me pose this question to Dr. Nayaga, because there's a lot of interference on that and we won't be able to get a clarity on that in terms of the sound quality. Dr. Nayaga, can you then answer this question?
No problem, Mariam. Thank you for that question. So currently we have a campaign that's running. It's called Doctors for SA. In this campaign, we have released a commission of inquiries that we aim to get the attention of the President's office, President Cyril Ramaphosa. And we're doing this in the form of a petition, which is an online petition. You can go to change.org/Doctors4SA, and you can sign our online petition. Our letter of commission of inquiries is on that petition. You can go through it. Everything that we find inconsistent and all the irregularities that we would like to address is listed on this commission of inquiries. So I would encourage everybody, whether you are a medical student, a foreign internationally trained medical student, a parent of a doctor that is trying to register, or just a citizen that is concerned about the well-being of your health if you're using government facilities within our country. This is a massive problem that we need to address, and it starts with the registration process of the HPCSA. So we're calling on South Africans to come on board, support our campaign, read our Commission of Inquiries. You're also at liberty to download the Commission of Inquiries and email it to the President's office yourself. But we'd like to see higher numbers on that petition.
So I'd like to add a hashtag here so that we can start trending on social media, and hashtag the Doctors for SA. So let's start trending. Let's get this trending hashtag Doctors for SA, and let's see that how we can assist you and accelerate it. And after your years of study, rightfully you are registered and recognized as a medical doctor, being able to practice in South Africa at a time when South Africa needs doctors. We need every trained doctor to be helping us against the scourge, against the war, against COVID-19. So we thank you. From our side, we're going to see if we can create this awareness, get it trending. Please go to Doctors for SA, read the petition, read this, sign it, and let's see what's going to happen. So thank you for joining us, both Dr. Singh and Dr. Nayaga. And please, if you have any further updates, maybe the things have been accelerated or you managed to get the attention of the powers that be in our country, please do let us know, and then we can inform the listeners. But please create this awareness and let's see how we can get these doctors registered and into our healthcare system. Thank you for joining us here on Salam Media.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you for the platform.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much. We're going to take a short break, and then we are going to have a light-hearted, did you know, educational segment. All this after the break.